Starting chapter 1, which is all about data collection. So this kind of goes hand in hand with that yellow sheet that I had given you guys on Monday, right? So again, you have a week to do it, so don't feel rushed. But the whole idea is we're going to learn how to collect data, what's an appropriate amount, what's an appropriate way to do it, what different kinds are there. I mentioned the numerical kind that I asked you guys to collect is called quantitative. We'll talk about what it's called if it's not numerical and so forth. So section 1.1 is just kind of the introduction to how stats works. Some typical words that you're used to, like hypothesis and data and all kinds of things we'll be able to define today, okay? So let's look at the first one. The first definition, guys, is statistics. And if anybody's gotten on my math lab, I have a kind of a home opener quiz that you have to take. It's called the Course Info Quiz. And 10 of the 11 problems are strictly from your syllabus. And then there's one question about stats, and it's this definition. So those that worked ahead, you probably had to kind of dig a little harder or guess multiple times. But what is stats, guys? It's the science of collecting, organizing, summarizing, and analyzing information to draw conclusions or answer questions. In addition, statistics is about providing a measure of confidence in any conclusion. So some people, how they remember it as COSA, an acronym COSA, C-O-S-A. Collecting, organizing, summarizing, and analyzing, so you can kind of remember that. And really when it comes down to it, those first three things, collecting, guys, we'll learn how to do that in chapter 1. Organizing, we'll learn how to do that in chapter 2 and kind of chapter 3. And then summarizing, we'll be learning in chapter 3. And really, we don't get to the analyzing until the very end, chapters 9 and 10. And that's why I don't hand out your final project to you right off the bat. I think you would get it and you're like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? Because right now it's foreign to you, but when we get to it, and at the end of November, early December, you're going to know exactly what I'm asking you to do. And you'll be analyzing that data you collect all semester long. This definition makes me like stats from day one, because you can see that you can actually use it. You can draw conclusions and make assumptions, all right? So if we find out something, then we can actually act on it. Whereas other math, how many times do you go ahead and factor on any given day the rest of your life, right? And again, even if you don't do statistics ever again, you can see where it's used, all right? So where do we use it? We have to use it in business to know if our company's performing at the best of its abilities. Sports, I think, just sticks out, right? We call them stats when we talk about ERAs and RBIs and ACEs or whatever it may be that our athletes are doing. Health, I mentioned a lot of you guys, I read your course info sheets, a lot of nursing students in here. You're going to use stats all the time. Whether the stats are used on you, you might have to score in the top 10% of some test to get into a nursing school, or whether you use stats in your field when it comes to growth charts and all that kind of thing. Political science, I can go on and on and on, okay? So stats is really used everywhere. Right, second definition, data. It's a fact or proposition used to draw a conclusion or make a decision. So it's actually a plural word, which is weird. So when I say you guys are going to collect data, you're collecting more than one. You're collecting a lot. Singular, it's called datum. I never really use the word datum. So I use data for plural or single, but it is all those things that we collect, and once we collect it, we can make some kind of decision or conclusion from it, all right? So just some random examples, all right? Say we were curious about the height of our basketball team, okay? That would be data that we can collect, and this is when you guys fill it in, okay? So at first, I kind of start heavy with you not having to write anything down, and then the further we get in, you'll have more and more places that you can write. So an example of data right here is the heights of a basketball team, all right? Do you guys ever go to the basketball games and you get that roster and it says starting guard, 5'10", whatever it may be? Those heights are data. It doesn't have to be numerical. So for example, it could be gender, right? I could go around to all my Lewis classes and count the number of males and count the number of females. That is data. And I might be able to draw a conclusion that a majority of my students this semester are female, or whatever it may be, okay? So we'll talk about what it's called if it's not numerical. Miles per hour, how fast do you guys drive to get to campus, all right? police officers and different city districts use that data to draw conclusions about speeding, what speed limit they should maybe set on a road, and so forth, all right? Really, you can make anything data. Like, we could keep listing it on and on and on. Like I said, the number of cuss words you say in a day, how many ounces of water you drink in a day, you can keep going, okay? So what are some ways we can collect data? One is just based on anecdotal claims. Has anybody heard the word anecdote before? Okay, it's just like somebody's just kind of telling you a story, right? So it's just kind of based on casual observation. It's not necessarily like any study's been done or any kind of collected data, but we might just be out like in the parking lot and just say, there's a lot of white cars in the parking lot today, right? It's just something that we notice, all right? So let's write kind of a little note there, based on casual observation. Based on casual observation. Do you think using anecdotal claims is a good way to prove your point? No. Is it a good way to start, though? Right? It's not useless. We can just be like, hey, I'm trying to think of an example. Oh, I don't think a lot of people buy food at our cafeteria, right? That's my anecdotal claim. But then it might be something that we actually follow up on, because if we really do count the number of people that are using or not using the cafeteria, they might want to look into somebody changing how that's run or whatever it may be. So they're not hard set evidence, but they're a good place to start kind of idea. Misused data, basically exactly what you think it is. It's incorrectly obtained. Incorrectly obtained or analyzed. So again, this is almost like a no-no. For example, if I want to know the nation's favorite baseball team, and I just ask you guys, what is the majority of people going to say? The Cardinals, right? Do you think that's a good way to obtain no, you're right. I mean, how biased is that? Like, we are 10 minutes away from, or 20 minutes away from St. Louis. So think about how you're collecting data, right? Are you just doing it because it's convenient? Yeah, but it might not be the most accurate, all right? Or sometimes we'll collect data, but then something happens when we input it or whatever, and so then it's analyzed incorrectly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to chapters 9 and 10. Lurking variable. You know you're a teacher, math teacher, when you have a favorite vocab word in stats. This lurking variable just cracks me up. I just love the name of it. What does it mean to lurk? Kind of just hang around, like you're hiding. Yeah, hiding. You're like around the corner, like watching people kind of thing, you know. That's exactly what a lurking variable is. It is a variable that's hiding, okay? It's not a variable that we're studying, but he could actually be affecting what we're studying. So we need to consider him, okay? So a lurking variable is a variable not being studied. But may influence results.